Hi guys, Lindsay here. So sorry about if the camera's a little bit shaky. I started doing a PT regimen for my shoulders. I'm actually doing like this whole full body protocol thing to help with the EDS syndrome. So it's called the Meldoni protocol, something like that. So I've been doing PT for quite some time now, but this past week it started focusing on the shoulders. So it's really hard for me actually to hold the camera up right now. So I've kind of got the tripod balance on my leg. But anyways, so I have been super duper jazzed and excited about starting over again, starting at the new property, getting things going. But I've also been really nervous because this morning the real feel was only 0 degrees. It actually was probably like -1, just because we are significantly colder than town. But yeah, it's very, very cold so far this winter. It's been an unseasonably cold winter this early in the year for us in Ohio. So it's just been one of those things where it's kind of nerve wracking of how do I want to go about the projects there? How do I want to go about the renovations, the speed of renovations? Originally, when we had first made our offers on that property, we had hoped that we'd get it for cheap enough that I could then hire contractors to do a lot of the grunt work, a lot of the really heavy lifting stuff, because I still really am not supposed to be lifting a massive, super heavy amounts of loads, even though I'm not going to find out about the hysterectomy and all of that other stuff until January. I'm still really not, it's not advised when organs keep prolapsing for me to do a bunch of like grunting and heavy lifting, and you guys get the gist. Plus, a lot of back problems. With having EDS, not a good idea to do take tons and tons of heavy lifting. But so, anyways, I had really hoped that we would have enough money left over after buying the house that then we would have enough that we could hire contractors to do a lot of the really heavy lifting, a lot of the structural work, a lot of that sort of a thing it just makes me nervous. I know how to do it. I know how to sister up beams and joists and do different things like that. It makes me nervous thinking about it because I'm the type of person that I can't figure out how to do something until I look at it and see how it's supposed to be, and then I can just basically copy and paste and just repeat whatever I just learned how to do. Um, really, kitty cat? She jumped up here, ran across the futon, and then dove back down, colliding with a bunch of random. There's a picture frame over there that she slammed into. But anyways, I gotta put my arm back down. Man. Yeah, so I'm a little bit nervous about doing that project, about fixing the structural issues that are in the double wide. It appears to only be in the master bedroom that there's structural issues. So the north side of the trailer, the where the master bedroom hits the exterior wall, the floor is sagged down a couple of inches there. So when the realtor walked across it, she had noted that the plywood was not squishy or spongy at all, and it felt solid. So that tells me right there that the floor joists have rotted and have let go and are then just leaning. There's nothing on the wall, I don't imagine, that are supporting it. So basically, I'm not going to know how to fix it, how to tie it all in together, how to brace it all up, and how to secure it all until I get in there, rip out the carpet, and then pull up the plywood to then see exactly what level of hell I'm working with. So that's kind of big, the really big stressful part of the project. So first things first, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go in there and I'm going to start ripping up all of the carpet. Thankfully, my farmhand that was working here is actually willing to come travel with me to there to actually help do a whole bunch of stuff. It's very convenient that he lives right down the road, so like he can just hop in the car with me, we can go down, get work done, and then come back. And now the cat is vomiting. This is why I don't like to film inside. There's always something. Simba! And then there was one. This is why we need a bigger house. We currently have 3 cats and 6 dogs in the house. A little chaotic. Especially for only like 1,000 square feet of space. But so anyways, yeah, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to work on pulling up all of the old carpet. One of the bedrooms, we're actually going to delete it and then just move it. We're going to switch it with where the dining room is at to create a more open flow of an open concept sort of a house. That's one of the things that we were really the most excited about with getting a double wide is that there's very minimal structural walls, like load-bearing walls, except for there's like a few that are in the center that are obviously holding up the roof. Basically, if you get a single wide or even a double wide, it's like having the ultimate blank canvas because you don't have to piss with permits and inspections and all sorts of stuff, but you basically just have a shell of a house. So it's kind of like the best of all worlds because you can usually buy them for cheap. You can rip out a lot of whatever you don't want and then just build it to suit. So we're basically, the house is I don't remember the exact measurements of it. It's a little over 1,700 square feet of a double wide. So I think it's like a 28 by 68 or something like that. So it's a pretty good size space that we're going to have just basically a blank canvas. So after the carpet all gets ripped up, anywhere the plywood is defective, where there's soft spots, where there's dips, where there's bows, a lot of that stuff is all on the north facing side of the house. So it's definitely run off from the road that then comes down. So I'm gonna in the springtime have to have our hay guy, who also owns an excavator, gonna have him come out and do a bunch of like French drain work, stuff like that. But that's not important for now. For now, gotta fix the bad stuff. So like I said, carpet get ripped out, fix the plywood, delete bedroom walls. So I gotta rip out one bedroom. It's a small bedroom. Gonna move that. I'm gonna have it set up still as a technical legal bedroom. So I'm gonna have it that I'm gonna build a closet in there. So that way, if for some reason we ever decide to sell the house, it's still a 3-bedroom house instead of a 2-bedroom. So our last house that we sold, it was a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. This house is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. And when you have only 2 bedrooms, it really caps off how much you're able to get out of the house. So when we got this place and I realized pretty quickly on that I did not feel at home here, and that I didn't want to stay here, it kind of dictated a lot of different renovation stuff, because we knew that just fully renovating the house, updating all of the main things here, would make it so that way, price point wise, we'd be capped out at the top. A lot of choices that we made, we were like, okay, we're not going to make any more money if we paint the floors upstairs versus pay to put carpet in. So we used paint instead. We did different things that we were doing to save money because we knew we wouldn't make more. Whereas if this house had a 3rd bedroom, a lot of different stuff, it would have been able to have a higher ceiling as to what could be made. But so yeah, we're trying to make sure that we do things in a very smart way there, because like, we don't know what the future holds. We don't know if this is going to be where we stay forever. We want it to be. We hope that it is. It feels like it is. It honestly, it's the first place I've ever existed that I felt safe to be a woman. And like, when I unpacked those emotions in the past couple of weeks, I was like, whoa, I have a lot more shadow work to do, a lot more trauma to work through, a lot more stuff to go through. That's kind of also why I've been a little bit silent actually on YouTube, is because I've been like so in my heart and so in my head of trying to process through so many different heavy emotions and different stuff, because I'm like, I don't want to keep carrying this pain with me to everywhere that we go, and then I'm just like healing and healing and healing and healing in a very painful way. I just want it to be that I can just do one thing at a time. Focus on building a house while not also hurting my body and destroying myself because I feel like shit about things that happen to me and I'm trying to harm myself. Like, I don't have to do that anymore. But anyways, so that took a turn for a different place. Sorry. But so yeah, the other things that we're going to have to do before we can move in, before we can get it so this house is listed, is we have to add heat there. So one of the interesting things about that property is that it does not have a traditional heating system. It actually has a geothermal heat system there. However, it was put in the year after the trailer was built, and from 1994. So the furnace was put in, the geothermal system was put in 1995. So I'm assuming that the internal workings of that are no longer working, just because it's essentially like from my understanding of geothermal, which is like this much, that basically it's like a heat cool pump that's the internal unit, and that piece of equipment, from what I read online, says that it normally only lasts about 25 years. So that one's been in existence for 30. So I'm guessing that it doesn't work anymore. But from what I've read, the underground stuff usually works for 50 to 100 years. So that's going to be kind of like a little jackpot of hitting with that property. But I don't know how much it's going to cost to upgrade that furnace. So interesting thing is when we first bought this house here, we had actually purchased from a friend a used, really big, really beautiful, high quality wood stove for a very cheap price. That wood stove is rated to heat up to like 2,000 square feet, way bigger than what this house would need. It also is like cast iron and soapstone, so it is absolutely gorgeous, but it is over 500 freaking pounds. So the plan is that we're going to end up, once we get the house, we're going to move that there. So then on the days that I'm going to be there working, I'm actually going to just haul firewood from here to there, so then I can heat up the house. Because since the house has already been winterized, I don't really want to do too much plumbing stuff right now. I want to kind of save plumbing stuff and rearranging bathrooms and adding and subtracting and doing that sort of a thing towards the end, because I really don't want to have heat on in 2 houses for January. That's going to be very, very expensive. Granted, there we'd only have it basically at like 40 degrees, 50 degrees, whatever the lowest is, to try to, keep it from pipes freezing. But like I said, kind of short on funds. So I'm guessing that we're probably not going to be able to put a traditional heat source in there until next year or until this house sells. Kind of a weird situation. But it is what it is. So yeah, I'm chomping at the bit to get this done. I'm super excited to get started on it, but I have to keep reminding myself that I have to go slow. So like this past week, I've been kind of just like putting myself on conserving my energy as much as possible. I'm getting a lot of rest, laying down a bunch, just purely resting super, super well, trying to get my circadian rhythm back on balance, because for a hot minute there, I had such bad insomnia, like it was no good. But so yeah, trying to pack on a few pounds, trying to rest up more, trying to process things and do a lot of inner work and a lot of healing. And that's just kind of where I'm at right now. I'm really, really getting excited though. I should be more nervous. Probably should be more nervous. But I guess I'm just not. I guess just because of how I always do things is I just like, well, it's got to get done. So that's just sort of how it's gonna go. So hopefully helpful people will be sent our way, knowledgeable people, and hopefully it'd be really cool if that geothermal, if the inside unit still worked. That would be great, because that would be a huge game changer if we could have that operating and not have to replace that until after this house sells. Like that would be huge. But we've heated with wood, solely exclusively with wood before. It does suck. It really sucks heating with just wood. But I mean, if that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do. It's not that big of a deal, because it's looking like it'd probably be February, March-ish whenever we would be able to, be making that move, that leap, that step forward. So yeah, shouldn't need too much more heat after that point. So we'll see. So anyways, that's it for today. I'm actually going to go rest for a little while. Just chillax for a little while, wait for it to warm up some more outside, and then try to fiddle fart around outside, see what I can get into, because I'm just gonna go stir crazy if I'm sitting in the house for too long. So anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good one, guys.